Hello everyone, today we are the BioBots and we'll be showing you how to assemble the 15mm Linear Motion Kit version 2 distributed by REV Robotics. In this video, the final product should look something like this, which we are using 9-inch extrusions, which should fully go to about 27 inches. So the components that are given in this kit are the 6 sliders, along with the 4 REV sliders that are used on the extrusions, and the 4 V-bearing caps, along with 6 end caps for the X-rails. And they also give 2 screws and 2 types of nuts. The first nut is the nylock nut, which is distributed by REV in the regular kits. This is for the hex head screws. And then the other type of nut is the regular nut, which is used for the low profile socket screws. And then parts that you will need to get, first of all, for X-rails, they can be of any sizes, but all of them must be the same size. And then you also need string for the pulleys, along with surgical tubing for pulling everything back together. A 2mm Allen key, we're using a drill bit for this, along with 2 or 1 hex screw. Not correct. You will also need a M3 18mm screw, which is longer, for use on the end caps. This assembly will be using the REV site, which gives instructions on how to build it, but for a better understanding, we will show you how to build it. So for the first step, you'll take the REV sliders, the bigger ones, and you will need to make sure that the slider, or the part that's sticking out, is on the right side. And then after that, you will use the hex head screws, and along with the nylock nuts, and you will use 2 of them. And so after you have made 2 assemblies, you'll now take the smaller slides, along with the low profile socket screws and the regular nuts. And for this one, you have to be careful because each one of these has different. One side is circular, one side is for more rhombus shaped hexagonal shape. So for this, you just stick the nut in, and then you won't need to hold it because it already has a groove to go in. And then you will just stick the socket screws on the circular side. And you won't tighten it fully, but for this part, you can use the 2mm hex screw, or you can just do it by hand. But you don't want to tighten it fully so that this part is, as you can see, the top part is not fully in, but it can still move. And you will do that for both of the holes, and then you'll make another one. So after your 2 different sliders have been assembled, the bigger ones and the small ones, you'll take your smaller one, and you'll take your X-rail of any size. In this case, you'll be using a 9-inch in length. And you'll first of all need to make sure that you follow step 3, which says not to tighten it fully, because if it's tightened fully, then you'll not be able to slide it on. So make sure that it's loose enough. It's pretty loose, but not too loose, so that it comes off. And then you'll slide it with the circular side facing outward, like this, and it should be able to freely slide right now. And then you will need to tighten it, but do not tighten it too hard, too tight, or else it may damage the extrusion. And then you will move on to step 5. So step 5 uses the bigger slider, and you'll need to flip it so that it's not on this side anymore, but this way. And then you will slide it down. And for this, you will use the hex heads as for sliding it in. And if it's not going in, it's usually because the hex head is not aligned. So after alignment, then you can tighten it, but again, remember not to tighten it too much. X-rail, and remember to make sure that both this part that slider is aligned with the same side as the circular parts of the other slider, and you'll need to do this one more time on the nut. So after you have your two sliders on the extrusions, you can move on to the next step, which is to slide them both together. This step may prove quite challenging because you need to make sure that you get this X-rail onto both sliders, along with making sure that the both extrusions engage with one another. So here you go. It may take a few times, but after this step, you can also do it up and down a few times in order to make sure that there's less friction and that sliding will be easier. For the next step, you'll need to take 3 of your end caps, and so you will need to put it on 2 at the top and 1 at the bottom. You can use any side as the bottom or any side as the top, but for this, you will need to thread the top of the extrusions. Usually they do not come already pre-threaded, so we did thread ours. We did this by using the hex screw, 18mm screw, and just lining it with the hole, and then using our nut driver and turning it in, and that caused it to thread itself. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, but you can also use the other system known as tapping that you can see on another one of REV's sites or any other information on websites. So after you have done that, you use the 3 end caps, and for these end caps, each of them have 2 holes going one way. When you put it on, first of all, these little black parts that are on this side will need to go into the X-rails like this, and the holes will need to go away. And you should have it so that the 2 holes are facing the side that the sliders are on, but there are 2 holes on each side, so just make sure that it is in this direction. And for this, sometimes the slider may come in the way of the 2 black parts that go into the X-rail. If this is the case, then you just loosen the larger slider, and you can pull it down, tighten in the end caps on both of them, and then slide it back up. Okay, and then you can go on to the next. As you can see, here are 3 end caps. Even though in the instructions they say use 4, in the end you will only be using 6 of the 8 end caps you're supposed to be using. But as you can see, it should be able to move like this, and it should not come off due to the end caps. And then after this, you'll need to make 1 more of these. The side actually does matter though, because once in a while it may come off. And then as you can see in the final version, the way that it is if this were to be these 2 X-rails, you will need for one to be lower than the other. So this end cap will be needed, and you'll actually have this screw here. So yeah, after this you can make another one. It will be the same way, though. Even as you can see, there's only 1 end cap here and no end cap here, but it will be the same thing, just flipped around. So yeah, you can continue on, but make sure that when you do make this one, that both of them can come all the way down and up. And then after this, in the next step, we will show you how to connect the 2 X-rails, the 2 groups of the 2 X-rails together. So just make another one of these, and you can do them. 2 pieces. You will now need to, first of all, flip your other one around, so it looks something like this. And for this one, you'll need to pull this one down, so that this bottom part now, because there will be no end cap on the bottom of this one, and that it should align with the other 3 end caps. So it should look something like this. As you can see here in the final product, we will add the V bearings along with their end caps to the top. But for right now, you do have your 2 parts, and as you can see in this part, it's connected together. So REV actually does not show this step anywhere. On the back, you'll actually need to add 2 more of these. So you'll do the same steps where you use this, and again, you use the hex head screws, the small ones, or and then so you should have your 2 pieces now. So now you will take it as if it's 1 piece and flip it over. For this step, you'll actually need to unscrew the top 2 end caps. So these 2 end caps should be in the middle. And once you unscrew these 2, you may have a little bit trouble at first because of the sliders on the front, but so now you should have your 2 hinges taken off, and this is the back part of our after we've taken off the 2 end caps in the middle. These 2 are the middle. So this is the top, this is the bottom. So as can be seen in the finished version here, we have 2 of the larger sliders here, and make sure to follow step 1 of the. You can look back in the video or you can look at the instructions, and make sure first of all that the screws are on the right side, and then after this. You will first need to slide in the bottom one in if you're taking off the top, or if you're taking off the bottom, you'll need to slide in the top one. So first of all, make sure that the screws and the nuts are on the right side of whichever extrusion. So you will need to again align. If you're coming up with any issues, it's probably because of the alignment of the screws. And then you'll slide it down like so. And then you'll do the second one. Video they do show to put it on an extrusion, but it's not required to, and you can have it free moving. Just remember that you will need to attach it to a motor, which in order to operate it. So this is the back part. Now you will just need to put back the end caps, and then you can go on to 3.1, the first step. And for this step, you will need 3 of your V-bearings, or for the whole 3.1, you'll need 3 V-bearings, all 3 covers, and about 13 screws and 13 nuts. So now we will start off with the first V-bearing. So you will need to flip it back over to the front side, and it will be only for the V-bearings only go on the top 3. So now you will first take your V-bearings, and we're using a larger one. There also are smaller ones which you can put in, but in this video we'll be using larger ones. One example of a smaller one is here. For this one, we use one smaller one here and one larger one here. The difference isn't really much, just that the smaller one has more space to move around and higher likelihood of string coming out, but it's fine. So now we can put the V-bearings in their cap. And so for the bigger ones, you have to push it more into it, and then later you will need to route the string through it. In this video, we will not be showing you how to do the string. We'll go through a little run through with the instructions on it, but we've already done it here, and in our case, we'll be using 2 of the cascading slides, and both will be going out, but we'll need our second one only for helping you come back in using circle tubing. So now we'll show you how to exactly put these onto the slide. So for the first one, you will take this V-bearing with V-bearing cover with the V-bearing in it, and you'll make sure first of all that there's a little hole in the V-bearing that you can see through the V-bearing cover, and you'll put the screw through that. And make sure that first of all, I just made the mistake of going the wrong way. You need to make sure that it's on the flat side, so the flat side will be coming out, not the covered side. And then you'll take the nut and make sure that first of all you're on the left side, and then so you go on the left side. First you drop the nut in, and then the nut will stay in there so it's snug. You won't need to hold the nut, but you'll need to make sure that it doesn't come out. And then now, as you can see, we have put in the screw and the nut here, and now we will move on to the second. So you only need 3 more of these, so you can start off by just putting all the V-bearings in their covers. And then it'll be the same for all of them. You have to put them on the leftmost part. So for this next step, you will need 4 of the 16mm hex screws, along with 4 nylon nuts. We'll now go to the bottom of the cascading slide. So this is step 3 of 3.1. And here you will need to go to now the right part of each of the end caps, and you will put in the nylon nut under it. And it's the same procedure as the top, except this part will be used for tightening the string. So you don't want to tighten it fully, but just make sure that it's in, and that if you see under it, you can see that the bottom, it's right now, it can go up and out, but if you tighten it enough, it will go inside because it is fully through. So as you can see here, now that we've tightened it more, you cannot pull it out because it has gone inside. So you will do this 3 more times, except for the 4th part, it is different because you will need to slide it into the X rail and just put the nut on top. This nut, you can tighten it in more, and you will not need that big of a screw. You can use a smaller screw, but in this case, we will be using the longer screw. And you just screw it in a lot more. But you don't screw it in fully because you'll still need to put a string under this nut. So then, keep screwing in. Even this much is good, but just make sure that there is a screw inside along with the nut, and you don't want to shake it too much, or else it might come out. So now just do it 2 more times here. Remember, it has to be on the right part of the end cap, and you're good. So as you can see, at this point, you should have had all 4 screws in. Make sure that these are in the right. But once you put in this one, if you tighten it a little more, like we tighten it fully, because we won't be putting the string, now you can't move it up anymore, you can only go down. So that finishes that part. So step 4 in 3.1 is not needed unless if you're using Activotics, as we're not using REV, then you will have to find a different way. We have not found out as yet, but we might use one of the Activotics holes with the REV screw, because that seems most compatible. And then also, next step includes using the string. So real quick, we'll go back to our older prototype. So as you can see in this stringing, when you put it in, this is a smaller one. So the thing about this is there's a little bit of space, so it might come out. But the way we've put it is that it goes through each one of these sides, and you will want to make sure that each of the cases is facing down here, not up. And when routing the string, you do not have to take out the V-bearing, but you can just route it through these little corners as seen. So the first string, this will be the part that's lagging off. It does not have to be this big, but if you want, you can make it as big as you need to. But the first one you will route it through the V-bearing, and it will go to the first end cap on the extrusion for the bottom ones in this screw. So what you can do is, once you've put that one in, you do not want to tighten this screw, the first screw, because you will have to put in a second string into this one. But for all the other ones, they only have 1 string. So the first one, you can put it here to this one, and you can wrap it around once. And you do want to make sure that you do not cut too little string. So you can wrap it around, you can tighten it fully, and then you do not want to cut the string there, but maybe leave a little bit extra in case you have any issues. And then you can cut it. And then after that, just tighten it so it stays there. And then you can go to the second one. So the second one, as you can see, is this string. So you first keep the bottom part. So you take the part of the string that has already been cut, and you tie it down to this one. So as you can see here, we've tightened it all the way down, but it shouldn't be tightened all the way down. Once you loosen it, you can route the string under it, circle it around, and then tighten it. And then after that, you will go to the other part of the string after routed will go to the second one, or the second end cap. And then for the third one, the front part of the string will go to the second one. So here you will need to unscrew it and then screw it back in with the second piece of string. You can circle it around and then tighten it. And then the other part will go to the last end cap. At this point, you can cut off all the rest of the string and any excess that you have left over, and then we can go on to surgical tubing. We will now go to surgical tubing. So here you will need 6 more of the 8mm hex screws for the smallest one. And you also need the rest of your 16mm hex screws on with 6 nylon nuts. So the first step to this will be putting in the 16mm hex screws into these parts, as can be seen here. You can put them into the end cap, but they have to be on the left side for the top ones. And then you also need, as we did on the front, on this part, you need to do the same here with, you will just put one of the nylon nuts there. You'll put 2 of them on the left, as can be seen here. And for the bottom ones, they will be on the right. For the bottom 2, you will not use this last one. And here you also need the same as you're going to do here. So you can do that, and then you can then we'll go on to the next part of the surgical tube. We already put in the six 16mm hex screws, and so for these two we did tighten this one, but you should leave it loose right now. We're just doing it so they don't fall off. And then so now for the next step, you will use the 8mm or the smaller hex screws, and you will need to take your surgical tubing. This part is a little harder. You can take the REV surgical tubing that comes with the kit, or you can buy it. We already used ours, so we bought a different one. That's why it's a different color. But for this part, you'll need to take your small hex screw and put it into the surgical tubing. And then once you put it in, you will need to pull it all the way up. Have our 8mm hex screw into the surgical tubing. Now we need to tie the loop. So in order to tie this knot, we need to make sure that first of all, make a loop with this. So you just double it back to the string, and then you pinch it like here. And what will end up happening is you will like make a little loop, and then take it, and then just pull it in through the loop like this, and then the screw will be in here. So it's pretty simple knot, and you can practice it a few times. So here you can do it again. So you can take like 2 fingers, 1 finger, whatever, and then you go like this, and you have to make sure that you've double backed it like this. So you just like put your finger here, pull it back, make a little loop, and then you pinch it here, and then you do it like this, and then you take the loop and pull it through the whole length. And then what will end up happening is when tying the loop, instead of tying it just like this, you will undo it, and you will, inside the loop you will put this. So in order to untie it, you just need to route the sticking out end through this loop, and then pull it out. And then you don't tie it too tight, because sometimes the loop becomes too big, and then that causes you not to be able to, it causes for the surgical tubing to stretch too much. But so after you make that, you need to make sure that first of all, when you tie this loop, you do not, first of all, don't tie it like this, where you end up with this knot, because that does happen a lot of times when you double back it twice. And then at this point, remember that when tying it, do not tie it around the bottom, but tie it around the closer to the edge of this hex. And you just need to do it 6 times. And then, for example, here's one way. We did this with what the REV side did. We looped it around many times, and then we made a loop on top. Here's where we did it. This one's not done properly because this should be up closer to the head part, as you can see here. But you'll do this 6 times, and as can be seen here at the bottom, this one we weren't able to tie the knot, so we just put it under the nut. And so as you can see, the surgical tubing is going in the X rail like here and under. We just tied the nut like you do to the string on the other side. In this part, we used the end of loop knot at the top here, and we just used the hex screw. We just tied it into the groove that's given by the hex screw here. So you just keep doing that. So you have 6 screws, 3 more to the left here, and 3 more to the right here. So the first one will go to the farthest right one here, and the second one will go to the middle one, and then the third one will go to the farthest left here. So then you keep doing that, and then and then you'll be close to them. Product. Here's the one without the string, here's the one with the string. So this is the one we did today, and basically as you can see, it's pretty good. Like, you can both of these go pretty far. Like this one goes, this one, they both are made of the same 9-inch extrusions, and this one with this are get like, we haven't really put lubricant in any of these, but if you put like any type of lubricant, like maybe oil, bike lubricant, oil, chain lubricant, anything like that, they should slide back better. And then basically the only problem that you might face with this is the strings getting tangled sometimes. This happens once in a while when you, if over and over you keep moving it, and then as you can see the strings loosen up like this one over here, and then sometimes they can go over the next one. So you just have to be careful of that, and make sure that if you follow the steps in stringing as given on the website, certain strings are supposed to go under other strings to make for better performance. Like the first string should go under the second string going on top of it, and same for this one. This one goes over it. So the ones going this way should always be over the ones going down, tagging to the left. And so overall, this product, it's very nice. You can also get it made in from Servo City in stores. It costs about $100. And so this is the cascading slide version 2. And thanks for watching. We are the BioBots, and like and subscribe.